you guys, what is going on? Welcome back to Roads Untraveled. My name is Marcus, and as always, today we are going to go for a drive in a very unique and special, a 90s Japanese vehicle. This is a 1996 Toyota Starlet Glanza V. Okay, this is the last generation of turbocharged Starlets they made. Right after this, the next generation of Starlet, quote unquote, basically was, in North America, the Toyota Echo. So just a complete shitbox. So this is basically another one of those tales of fantastic late 90s Japanese engineering turned terrible come the early 2000s. Okay, so this Glanza is powered by a 1.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Front wheel drive. This one has the optional LSD, actually. It is a Torsen LSD. It's none of this viscous garbage that was in the Toyota MR2 Turbo and they kind of skimped out on a little bit. I mean, it's fine, but a Torsen LSD is a little bit better. So this does have that as an option. It was a factory option back in the day. Wow, this thing is hella fun. This thing is sick, very rigid. This car weighs about 2,100 pounds from the factory. And this one has, a little bit of weight taken out of it. But when you're already down at 2,100 pounds, I honestly don't think weight savings is really a top-notch concern at that point. So the rear seats are done away with, and there's some chassis bracing back there. But yeah, basically the owner of this car has just made the chassis a little bit more rigid than it was from the factory, a little bit more fun, and we're gonna see how this thing drives. I think in the 90s, I think Japan pretty much had the hot hatch nailed. They had a bunch of categories of cars nailed, honestly, in the late 90s. They had the GT car nailed with the Supra. They had a supercar with the NSX. Some would argue it was too slow. Something with sub 300 horsepower isn't really a supercar. I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, in the 90s, that was Japanese supercar. And the Starlet Glanza V was one of Japanese many hot hatches. And this is kind of another one of those forgotten cars that people just do not think about. Because at the time, like if Toyota came out with this Starlet Glanza V right now, we would be going crazy for it. If this was a brand new, sub $30,000 car to compete with the MX-5, turbocharged, 1300cc, big punch in a small package, people would go crazy for this. I mean, this is way faster than a factory AE86. It's way faster than a modern 86, and it's probably about as quick as, a factory WRX from the mid-2000s, just to give you some perspective. So if Toyota had come out with this now, we would have been going crazy for it. I would have been going crazy for it for sure. As a Toyota enthusiast, absolutely. So it was kind of overshadowed by a bunch of other enthusiast cars that Toyota was making. Obviously Toyota was making the Supra at the time. There were a bunch of other cars in the competition, the Skyline GTR, Evos, and Imprezas. These were all at their peak right in the late 90s. So it's kind of cool to see the ones that were a little bit covered up by the dust, so to speak, and that we can, as modern archaeologists in the automotive space, it's a metaphor, want to kind of uncover these special gems that were never sold outside of Japan. The turbocharged Starlet was never sold outside of Japan, or at least this generation, I know for sure, was never sold. The turbo models were never sold outside of the country of Japan. I like it. I like it so far. It's on coilovers right now, so a few modifications have been done. It does have a decat downpipe, which is good. It helps with the sound. I mean, it sounds phenomenal. The car does sound really great. Kind of sounds like an Evo. It just, it has a high revving turbo 4-cylinder sound to it. I thoroughly enjoy it. It has a little bit of that rally kind of excitement about it, that pepped up energy that you feel like it's just waiting to explode. So the removal of the sound deadening and all the back seats have caused some racket to be going on back there. You can hear everything in this car, absolutely everything. Oh yeah, it actually revs out quite well. revs out really nice. So, I mean, the turbo spools up well before 2,000 RPM, or at least it feels like it. You know, you'll be just cruising in your highest gear at, you know, a comfortable speed, and then you'll want to punch it, and the turbo's already spooled up. It's like, no, I already got you. You don't even have to think about it. Preemptive turbo spooling. 4,000 RPM, 5,000, 6,000. Holy hell, man. That's a punchy engine for 1,300cc for a large motorcycle engine. It punches. I mean, you do get quite the punch, 3,000 to 5,000 RPM. And yeah, it does die off between 6 and the 7,100 RPM red line, but she still pulls, and you've got like 6,000 RPM you can play with. The torque feels completely flat. The torque curve feels completely 100% flat, which is exactly what you want in a hot hatchback, in my opinion, because you want to be in any gear. You just want to be able to get up and go. You want to feel that pent up. You want to feel like your car is jacked up on coke all the friggin' time. That's what you want a hot hatch to be. I want to feel like it needs to just jump out of its skin every corner exit. That's what I want out of a hot hatch. And the Starlet has pretty much nailed that. It feels like a smaller Evo. That's what I can most accurately, closely compare this to. It feels like just a smaller front-wheel drive Evo. Even the sound at the higher RPMs is very similar to that Evo engine. Now, from the factory, the Starlet was one of the first vehicles, one of the first Toyota vehicles to have adjustable suspension technology. Now, this was electronically controlled damping, not individually from all four corners, but basically it would adjust, and you could put it from hard, medium, soft, or auto. And then auto, it would just kind of figure out the scenario. If you were going higher, if you're going at higher speeds, it would stiffen up the suspension, assuming less body roll and stuff like that to kind of enhance the, to kind of enhance the way the car is planted down onto the road. And then if you were in medium or soft, it would obviously soften it up. And then at lower speeds, if you're in auto, it would then make the car softer and produce a little bit more body roll. And there were a few other certain things and certain models of the Starlet, actually, that this adjustable suspension was, in fact, linked to the throttle position and the steering. So that's a very intelligent, I mean, for the 80s. This was on the previous generation Starlets before this. So in the 80s, I mean, that is a truly adaptive suspension technology right there that Toyota was implementing in a bunch of these cars. Now, obviously, this car has coilovers on it. It is so stiff. It's actually not that bouncy. I was warned it was a little bouncy. It's not too bouncy. It is very stiff, though. Love this bride seat. God, I love this bride seat. Visibility's great. I'm like pretty short. You can, if you're 6 feet, you can easily fit in this car, at least with this aftermarket seat. I'm not sure how the stock seats would fare as far as how tall you are, but man, it's just really easy to shift. Yeah, it's got the tuner vibes. I was worried that the Starlet, just by looking at it and just by looking at the interior, you can kind of already get the feel or the sense that it's a little bit more of kind of a softer hot hatch, or at least that's the way I see it, just visually speaking, from the outside, from the inside. Doesn't have any aggressive angles on the exterior. It's pretty subtle, pretty conservative styling-wise. It looks pretty generic if you were to take away the wheels and the hood scoop and bring it up to factory height again. And then you look at the interior, and this is like standard 90s plastic vinyl. Like, it just looks like kind of a softer car, just the same as if you got into like an Evo 4 or an Evo 5. They just kind of feel like a pedestrian car until you get on the gas, and this is kind of what this feels like. Same with the R33 GTR even. You know, that's why a lot of people complain about the R33 GTR, especially in the interior. Same as this, you know, you're expecting a little bit more theater. Maybe the R33 has a little bit more to live up to as a GTR, as Godzilla. but you know, you really get the punch when you step on the throttle, and that's what counts, and that's what I judge a car based on, is what I'm feeling behind the wheel, and the experience in that sense. So in that regard, the Glanza is doing phenomenal. The power steering is very boosted. It's definitely early 90s power steering, but this small 320 millimeter steering wheel helps a lot with that. It really does. One of the coolest period things and details about this car is in fact the turbo lights in the tack. Now, I have a Suzuki Forza that I recently bought as a daily. That's a 1000cc 3-cylinder turbo, and it has a little light on the tack that lights up when the turbo spools up. So that's kind of a cool 80s thing in that car that lets the driver know, hey, you've got a turbocharged car. Whoa, ladies, watch out, right? But on this car, there are not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 turbo lights. 4 friggin' turbo lights. 4 turbo lights. That's excessive, to say the least, but it's so much fun. So it says mode turbo, 2-mode turbo. So also from the factory, this car would have a low boost setting and it would have a high boost setting. So if you were just cruising, you know, it would only go up to like 3 or 4 PSI, something, you know, inconsequential, totally non-existent. And then in higher spirited situations, it would jump up to a full stop, you know, your full boost kind of thing. So now this has a plug and play ECU. It's been modified. It's still conservatively kind of tuned. It's at about 12 PSI, which is quite a bit, but still pretty conservative for a small engine like this. You know, you see Evos with like 25 PSI. But either way, you have those 3 lights on the turbo, and they work. The first one comes on, and then the second one, and then the third one comes on. And if you look really close, you can see them come on in sequence because the turbo is very small. Wow. Oh my God. Yeah, that LSD is putting in work. There's no torque steer, you guys. And like, I have never experienced a true front wheel drive hot turbo hatch with no torque steer. And this does not have any torque steer. This LSD is really impressing me. Really impressing me, you guys. You know, with a large motorcycle engine, you would not expect to have this much fun behind the wheel, but the shifter feels awesome. It feels fresh. There's plenty of feel. And then there's just, you know, a couple other areas of the car that are a little bit lighter, the steering being one of them, but you still get quite a bit of feel. And honestly, I can't really complain about the steering. It's pretty awesome. Just, oh man, it airs on the side of oversteer before, like it rotates so well. It airs on the side of oversteer way before it hints at any understeer. No torque steer, no understeer. It is, I mean, the Starlet Glanza V gets aces in my books as far as I'm concerned. I'm not playing with you. It's quite the experience, especially for the money. The context in which I look at all of these, or most of these 90s Japanese cars, are like, okay, if you're gonna go buy like a new, if you have, your options are pretty open as far as an enthusiast vehicle, and you have a price range of, in this case, like sub $10,000 for a Glanza V. That's ridiculous. That's the power and the fun for the money is really tough to beat in the hot hatch market. Especially in the 90s. Especially in the 90s. Speed limiter has been removed. It's got that factory top mount intercooler that the intake feeds, which is pretty funny. It's pretty great. No, it's fast. It's seriously fast. If you guys are looking at the Glanza V, I would highly suggest you get the one with the LSD. Highly, highly suggest. I was kind of skeptical before I knew it was a Torsen and not a viscous LSD. I was kind of skeptical. I was like, okay, a viscous LSD after 25 years, if you haven't opened it up, it's probably not going to work that well. But a Torsen LSD is like, it's all mechanical. It's less of a wear item, less of a thing you have to maintain and look after than a viscous LSD. So, I mean, I'm thoroughly impressed. Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll be doing a lot of car reviews. We're still going to be filming where we all drive separate cars to the shoot. There's only 3 of us on a shoot. Grace and I are business partners. We live in the same house, but we're taking separate cars to shoots anyways. So this is just how we're going to do things. We're not coming in contact with the owners of these vehicles at all. I'm wearing gloves. Everything is going to be okay, you guys. We're still going to be bringing you some kick-ass content, and we've got a few dope cars coming up in the next couple weeks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Check out our brand new redesigned, most popular 2 jet tags that we redid. 2JZ we made a new design for, and the 3S GTE we also made a new design for, as well as our other designs. We still have our entire catalog. The link is in the description, shop.roadsuntraveled.com. Subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.